Alright, hey guys. Per our conversation in the email thread earlier today, I thought I'd throw together a quick video just showing you how I set up my replay buffer. As I was kind of saying, the benefits of the replay buffer are that you can just record highlights, or at the touch of a button you can record or store your last 30 seconds or 60 seconds, or however you want to set it up. You can store your last X amount of seconds of gameplay to your desktop at probably a higher quality than you'd be able to stream to Twitch, although I haven't tried out YouTube yet. But it just has that benefit of rather recording these long sessions, you can just kind of push a button and get all the good stuff. So I basically stole these settings off of a forum, and then I did a little tweaking just to make sure that it worked and was smooth with my processor and my graphics card and that sort of thing. But what I've done, I'll first start on the General tab. You don't have to change anything here, but I just want to point it out in case you guys aren't aware. You could set different profiles here. So currently I only have one profile because I'm not actively streaming, but if I were streaming, I could set up a second profile here. I could just type in a name, hit add, and then adjust all my settings accordingly for streaming optimization, and then on the fly, if I want to stream, I could just select those settings, or if I want to record either a long video or a replay buffer to my hard drive, I could use the higher quality optimized settings. So something you want to do right now, just so you don't have to set all these settings every time you go back and forth, might be a good idea to set up a separate profile. I think everything selected here was default. Don't believe I changed anything. I don't think they're too important to what we're going to be talking about anyway. So encoding. The biggest differences you're probably going to see here versus whatever you have set up in OBS is that I am unselecting the CBR, which I believe is the constant bitrate. Or, yeah, I believe it's the constant bitrate. So by unselecting that, you can leave the quality balance at 10. It's not actually going to have a bearing on... It's not going to affect anything once I set up some of the advanced settings in just a second. But leave that at 10 for now. Max bitrate, you could put it 1,000, although the fact that we're not using a constant bitrate means that this is going to be ignored anyway. If you did select this, you're going to get a complete potato. This is going to be, you're going to get a 1,000-bit bitrate video, and it's going to look like shit. Over here, I have use custom buffer size selected, and I have my custom buffer size set at 0. So what this is telling OBS is that it's going to adjust the buffer size according to whatever's needed. If you're going through periods of fast gameplay, you're going to have a higher bitrate video. If I'm recording something like this, which I'll check it at the end, but this is obviously going to be a much lower bitrate video, so using a buffer size of 0 means it's just going to adjust on the fly and do whatever it needs to do. Audio encoding, set this to whatever you want. I use 96 bit rate. You can crank that all the way up to 320 if you really feel the need to. So my broadcast settings, if you stream to Twitch or otherwise, you're probably going to have this on a live stream setting. Since I reformatted everything, I don't have my Twitch stuff in here, but the important stuff, I'll just leave this on file output for now, is I'm going to set up two separate sets of hotkeys. One is to record a long video like this, and the other is to record just the replay buffers. So the settings are the same, but I just have them going to different file paths just because. But the one thing I wanted to point out on here is with this dollar, so you can just set up a very similar, I recommend doing a $.mp4, and what this is going to do, if I just kind of hover over here, is it's basically going to give you the timestamp. So whatever the active timestamp as of the time that you hit the button is going to be what displays in the folder. So simple enough. No, I don't think I changed anything. We'll leave that alone. So on the video, these are a little bit different from what I usually use. I made some adjustments just so I could make this video and you guys could actually read the text. But usually I have my resolution downscale set to 720p, and usually my FPS is set at 60. And again, this will depend on your processor and how good it is. I have the best detail 36 samples set. If you seem to be lagging a lot, this is one of those settings that you could probably play around with to get some of your processor back. Again, probably won't matter for a game like Rocket League, but if you're playing, I don't know, a game like StarCraft or maybe even League, I don't know, or Dota 2, those types of games, I don't know if they're more processor intensive. You might want to reel in some of that processor intensive settings stuff. Audio, this shouldn't matter at all. Set it up however you want. We'll jump over to hotkeys. So hotkeys, again, do whatever you want with these, but just to show you what I have done, I obviously ignore push to talk most of the time. And you can have a start stream and a stop stream. hotkey, I have my start recording and stop recording. So this is the constant recording hotkey. So not the replay buffer. It's just I hit start, it starts. I hit stop, however many minutes later, and it stops. Start the replay buffer, stop the replay buffer, and save replay buffer. So what this does is at the start of your session, you want to start your replay buffer. So for me, it's Control Right. And then whenever I want to capture, I just hit F8. So it's simple enough. You can't do both at the same time. You need to pick either a recording or the replay buffer. You can't do both. But actually, I don't think you can do both, but I haven't tested that yet. But regardless, you just hit your hotkey, it'll save, and then the replay buffer will still keep going until you hit that stop replay buffer hotkey. Advanced. So I have forgotten how much of this is non-standard, so you may have to take a look here and change things accordingly. I have used multi-threaded optimization selected. Obviously, I think we all have multi-threaded processors at this point, so that should be selected. I think this is default at normal. I set it as a bit of a higher priority class, again, because Rocket League doesn't take a whole lot of processor. If I were playing, this is another one of those settings you can bump back if you feel like you need it. Disable encoding while previewing. No idea what that does. It's not selected. Allow other modifiers on hotkeys. No idea what that does. I left it selected. Very fast seems to be, I don't know, across the board. Everything I've read has just said to kind of leave that on very fast, and it works fine. I've had no issues with it, so I leave that on very fast. Encoding profile, I don't know if the default is high, but I have that selected at high for now. 0 for the keyframe interval. Use CFR. I think this is something that is selected by default. I have it deselected. That is constant frame rate. What constant frame rate does is that if you're recording at 60 frames per second, it is always going to push 60 frames per second no matter what is happening on your screen. Even if you don't need that many frames, if it's very slow moving at that time, it's going to push all those frames. So that is going to be a lot more intensive on your graphics card. Selecting this is going to, I actually did some benchmarking, and whenever I have that selected at 60 frames, 720p, I'm pretty much maxing out my graphics card. I leave it unselected, and there's a significant drop-off. So I recommend, it doesn't affect video quality from anything that I've seen, so I use it deselected. Custom X264 encoder settings. This is where all the money is made. So I mentioned in the thread that there were some tweaks that you can make to your CRF, which, I think I have this up in a browser right here. But the CRF stands for that constant rate factor. So this is a number that you can put in between 0 and 51. 51 being the worst, and 0 means it's completely lossless. You want to stay far away from a 0 because you're going to be recording like a gig per 15 seconds of video. Like it's that crazy the amount of data that you're storing. So as you can see, I have this set to 20, which is just a few ticks better than the maximum best setting that's available in encoding. So the quality balance of 10, from what I've read, I believe is about a CRF of 22, and a quality balance of 1 or 0 I think is around a 32. I'm not exactly sure, but the point is basically that this is where you can do the majority of your tweaking. I have it at 20 because it feels like for my processor I don't feel any lag in game. Everything feels pretty smooth for the most part. But if you want to just throw these settings into start, that's something that you can kind of mess with. If I were to delete this altogether and just deselect this altogether, it would just default to whatever I have in, encoding. There we go. Whatever I have for my quality balance. So if I don't have the advanced settings, it's just going to be going off of this drop down, which again is somewhere in that 32 to 22 CRF range, I think. But if you have these advanced settings, it's going to allow you to bump up the quality to whatever you kind of see fit. And I think it gives you an estimate in here. Yeah, a change of plus or minus 6 should result in about half to double the file size. So if you have a whole ton of hard drive space, maybe you don't care about recording, closer to kind of lossless stuff, but it is, you do need to make sure that you have a separate hard drive. I can only hope that you guys aren't streaming OBS on the same, or you're not recording a file to the same hard drive that you're playing a game off of, because you're just going to have a whole bunch of trouble. You're going to get a lot of lag. So you pretty much need a separate hard drive for recording the video too if you're going to start bumping up the quality like that. I think those are all the important settings. Everything else on this page is kind of deselected. Let me just do a double check. These won't matter because we deselected our CBR. So everything's kind of grayed out here. Microphone stuff, scene switcher we will not touch. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So yeah, what I basically did is I threw these settings. Again, I just threw the replay buffer on. I went in and messed around. I took some sample videos, watched them, see if they look good, see if they look like they were lagging, see if my game felt like it was lagging, all that good stuff. So it does take a little bit of tweaking to kind of get right, but with the settings that I just showed you right there, let me just open up my replay buffer file. You can see that they're close. Each one of these is about a 30 to 35 second video. But they're not all exactly the same file size. And again, the reason for that is because, we have a variable buffer rate and a variable bit rate that's going on here. So if it's more of a slower clip, it's going to be a lower file size. If it's high action, it's going to be a higher file size. But all of them are at that 720p. And if I even right-click on a couple of these and go to Properties, Details, you could see, yeah, the data rate and the total bit rate was approaching 30,000 kilobits a second on this one, and for a smaller one, about 25,000. So it's going to be all over the place. And I don't know if this directly relates to your streaming bitrate and what you'd need for like an upload speed to upload, or an upload bitrate in order to kind of upload at this quality. Maybe. Obviously, these probably aren't ideal for streaming settings. I may play around with YouTube to see if what I can pack into that kind of 6,000 kilobit rate cap, and try to get the best settings for that. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Any questions, I am happy to help you guys through it, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.